What is up, guys? AG here, back at it with another movie review. So, as you can see, we're going to be reviewing the new Avatar movie that came out at the end of 2025. I actually just watched it yesterday, but we're going to go ahead switch up the format just a little bit. So, just going to ask some hard hitting questions. So, first off, is it going to be worth the watch? And we're going to talk about, I wouldn't say like controversial things, but basically I'm just going to go over like my favorite, my least favorite character, and then a few other things before we get into the movie review. Just because I was usually just taking like more of like a like step back on the perspective, but I really want to put like my opinion on what I really thought about the movie and such. So first off, is this movie worth the watch, and is it overrated? So I would say it's worth the watch. It is a typical like James Cameron movie. You know, he does make very good movies. The visual effects are mainly the like best thing about the movie. But is it overrated? And honestly, I would say yes, just because it was not as good as the second movie. So the thing about the second movie is how it was like more of like a standalone thing. Like it separated itself enough from the first movie to like be its own standalone movie. But this one kind of felt like it was like Avatar 2 plus DLC. Not really like it was standalone. I know they had to like mix it into each other, you know, so it like connects. But it really felt like it was just like a 2.5 instead of like a 3, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would probably not watch it again just because it was like 3 hours and 15 minutes. And while I was in the Dolby cinema with 3D, um, it was a good experience. Like, you know, the picture was clear, the sound was great because it is Dolby. But the fact that it was, you know, it was like a super long movie, I probably would not sit through it again. I'd probably watch it in parts just because it was like so long. I mean, you could do things like that for like the Avengers movie and all these other movies, but in terms of Avatar, where it's like more of like a standalone thing, not the Avengers, where it's a bunch of superheroes from separate movies coming together, and you're connected to each of them, and that's why you sit through that movie. But with Avatar, it's more of like its own little universe, and while obviously the runtime is pretty long, like I don't think it was worth the watch. I'd say for how long it was to watch it again. I mean, if you want to watch for the first time, you know, it's definitely worth the watch. But watching it again, I would say not so. So let's get into favorite characters and least favorite characters. Um, just to kind of see what you guys think. You could definitely think if you think I'm wrong, whatever. Just put it in the comments, and we can have just like a discussion between like us and all the other comments, all that stuff. But kicking off with my least favorite character, I would say it was the mom. I think her name is like Natiri. She does have like a little redemption arc in the end, like towards the end, but in the beginning, it kind of feels like comes out of nowhere, and then eventually, Jake's character, which is like the main guy, um, he, I feel like kind of has like an out of character moment where it just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like bro, what are you doing? But in the beginning, so her character really hates Spider. So I know I'm probably alone on this, but I do think like Spider's like a decent character. I don't think he's like annoying or anything. Like he's just like a human that grew up around these other people and he has to adapt. You know, he's literally just like a human and he kind of acts like a human would act. And it's not like the younger brother Loak where he has his moments like with the younger brother Loak. He kind of, I wouldn't say is like useless, but it's like he does like dumb things. Like the very first thing Loak does is he forgets his comms, which is basically how they communicate with each other. And Jake Sully's a Marine, so he's very strict. And he tells him like, "This is why you don't come out, is because you forget the stupid things." Basically, like you're coming off the thing of him getting his brother killed in the second movie, and he's still doing like stupid, like forgetful things, and it's like, bro, come on. You want to be taken seriously. You want to, like, make a step up, but you're still forgetting the little things. So it's like, I don't understand if people didn't like his character, which his character is, I mean, he has his own little arc, But that's why, great reason to be mad at him because he's forgetting little things when he's in a life or death situation. And it's just very important that you can't, make those kind of mistakes. But like Spider, on the other hand, was more like useful, I'd say, because he really helps the daughter, Kiri, with like being comfortable and surviving and just like basically just going along with life or whatever. Because they're more of like partners, like they really like each other and stuff. Especially when she can't connect. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the mother tree underwater. Or she has seizures, which is explained in this movie. But Spider was always there with her, like to help her and be like useful, you know. And he does have a very useful moment later in the movie. But we'll just go ahead and try and get through the characters first. So basically, Jake Sully's the main. He's like the dad. He's the Marine, voiced by like Alex Mason from Black Ops, which is why I'm like a little bit of a fan. And then Natiri is the wife. She has her own arc. She's like traditionalist. She likes her own culture and stuff. Spider, we already talked about Spider. Loak, we talked about Loak. Kiri is like the daughter. She can't do some things that traditionally the Navi can do, and they kind of are like looked at differently because they can. Obviously, Loak is the screw up. Spider is literally a human, and Kiri can't connect to like the tree. So it's like the whole family has stuff going on, and of course, Jake Sully is like not true Navi. He's like half and half, whatever you want to call it, but he's not like he's an avatar. So the whole family got stuff going on. And then the army guy, which is what you probably see like the most memes about, is Quaritch. He is father of Spider, biological father of Spider. It was revealed, I think, in the second movie, and he is back in there. And his whole arc is, I think, is one of like the better arcs in the movie, even though he's a villain. And then the main antagonist, which is Varang, I feel like is the best character overall in the movie, because it is like she is just like so like true to herself. I love people that are like so like sure of themselves, and like even if they're technically in the wrong or the right, but they're so like strong and like kind of stubborn sometimes. And of course she was entertaining as a villain. Like you feel like the presence, like she's like low-key insane. You have to be crazy to be messing with fire, but I feel like she's probably like my favorite character. And then honestly, I like Spider. Spider's like a runner-up for my favorite character, just because of how useful he is and what he does in the movie. But yeah, that would be like the characters. So we'll just brush over the plot because I know a lot of you would probably see this movie, and then later we'll get into spoilers. So the plot of this movie is it continues after the second immediately. The brother's dead, a bunch of casualties after that war, and it's basically Spider and his way in fitting into the family. So it kicks off with, I'm not trying to spoil it, but like it kicks off with Spider. I just say Spider has to find his true place in the world, whatever, like that kind of stuff. And so it's really hard to talk about it without trying to spoil it, but basically they think it's best for him to find his own place, and then they set on a mission and they make a deal with these people who can transport him. And then basically it's like very understandable, like they don't, like kids are really attached to him, they don't want him to leave because they see him as a brother, especially after the brother was killed in the last movie and they're just losing people left and right. It's like, why would we want to lose somebody that's so like capable and that we all care about and all this stuff. And then that's where Varane comes in, and then they attack the ship, and that's kind of like the call to action in a way, is like Spider needing to find his home. And then that's where Quaritch gets involved. They hook up with Varang, which is the fire and ash people, and then that sets the whole thing into motion. And then there's a lot of arcs with Quaritch and choosing whether his military family or Varang and like Navi people, all that stuff. And then it goes kind of full circle in a way to back where exactly where they started. I mean, it is like almost 3.5 hour movie, so there is a lot into it. I definitely will not touch on everything. I know it was going to be a struggle to kind of keep this under like 20 minutes because that's kind of the goal. But yeah, I mean, the water people, they kind of have like a smaller role in this one, obviously because it's not like their movie. but they are still there. That's why I was saying it's more of like Avatar, like, what's it, 3.5 instead of like a full fleshed out, like, separate thing. But enough of that. But that's basically the, like, synopsis, I believe is the word, for the whole plot. But now we're going to kind of get into spoilers, and it really helps flesh out the characters and, like, why I feel the way I feel about them. So, with the Tiri, she wants to get rid of the spider. That's like the main reason why they set on it, because the spider was like suffocating with the mask, and you could see everybody is so like concerned about him, like, oh my god, what's going on? Like trying to help dad find the mask, this and that, get him oxygen, and the wife is literally just sitting up, like standing, just like staring at him with like disgust. Like she just has like rage and anger towards Spider. I think because she's like she hates humans, based on how they like killed her culture and everything. But like I understand that, but it's like why would you hate Spider? Somebody who's been like on your side 24/7, who takes care of your family, and honestly, he's probably even more capable, especially after this movie, than Loak, which is kind of like I wouldn't say a screw up, but it's like he like, and especially in the beginning, he kind of like has his own arc and everything, but it's just like the way he is. And I mean, a big reason is because he got his older brother killed, and it's like that's like huge. They go over that in the movie and all this other stuff. But like going back to the point, like why would she be mad at Spider? You know what I'm saying? Like why would she hate this guy so much and need to get rid of him? And that's just kind of like what like sucked about it. Cause I'm like in my head, I'm thinking with all the information we have right now, like why is she upset? You know what I'm saying? She was just so upset at like everything. And it was just like she was upset at her culture. She was upset at Spider. She was upset at Jake Sully for a while, and like it's just like damn, like she was just kind of like toxic, high key. But going on to let's see, you could probably do Spider and then Jake Sully because of the way the plot moves. So with Spider, he does end up getting captured, and this is where it really shows how capable he is and why I like him, because he's like showing he can be useful, capable, he's smart, all this other stuff. So he gets captured, and then he talks to Korch, which is his father, who visits him in prison, and he asks for like the dog tag to like as like sentimental value. Like this is why I want this, because he's my real father, blah blah. You know, he's convincing Korch to give it to him, and he gives it to him, and that way he undoes the screws and escapes prison by using the dog tag, and then he just like leaves it in the prison. So it's crazy saying like, you're not my father, I don't need you, this and kind of stuff. And then he finds Jake Sully, who was also captured, and Spider, using his mind, well, they were broken out by a scientist who felt bad because they were abusing the animals and the whales. Like there's a bunch of information in this movie. But just to keep it pushing, the scientist frees Jake Sully, and then Spider helps him out by using himself as a human shield, because he knows they won't shoot him. And the reason they won't shoot him is because of another scientist who wants him, because Spider was able to breathe the air of the Na'vi world because it's poisonous to humans. Humans cannot go there with the oxygen mask, which you see Spider using. And so they want to capture him and preserve him to be alive to study him. And I wouldn't say it's like gruesome to study like the lab scenes. If you're like not like into gore or whatever, it's not bad, but like you might be sensitive to it if you are sensitive. But they study him, and you see all that stuff, trying to figure out why he can breathe Na'vi air, and I think it's Pandora, not Na'vi air, but anyways, they want to capture him and study him, bottom line. And so Spider used himself as a human shield, sacrificing himself. Like, he knows that they won't kill him, but there's always a chance like they were gonna kill him. You know what I'm saying? Even in the movie, the general is like, you have clearance to shoot him, and the scientist is like, no, don't shoot him, and the dad Quartz is like, no, don't shoot him, but the general, which is like the highest ranking at that time, is like, shoot him. So he was mere moments from death. He's literally a human, like protecting himself for the Pandora people, because he sees them as family. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just so important. Like, not these other humans, not these other people, but for these Na'vi, which is Jake Sully, protecting him with his own body to help him escape to get back home to his family because he cares about them. You know what I'm saying? And then this is one of the biggest issues with the movie. There are reasons for this, but when they get home, And after Spider basically saved him, Jake slowly goes to his wife and is like, we have to kill Spider. Like, we have to kill him right now. Like, we have to do it. It's like, bro, what are you doing? This guy literally risked his life for you and basically this whole world, because you're basically like the leader in a way of these people. And like, you know what I'm saying? He's literally come so close to just like literally just like slitting his throat. Like, bro, like, what are you doing? And he stops on his own accord, but like to even think that, because he preaches, Jake's, it's going to Jake Sully character, he preaches Sully stick together, Sully's never quit, and then he comes out of nowhere, he's like, yo, I'm about to kill this guy, you know what I'm saying, this guy that just risked his life for me, and like, you know what I'm saying, it just seems very, very out of character, because he's like a Marine, you know what I'm saying, he's like, obviously he's tactical, but he's more of like community and supporting strong people. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason he loved his oldest son, was because he was so strong and capable. And Spider is pretty much, I wouldn't say the same, but he's capable and strong in his own way. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that comes out of nowhere. That was like my biggest problem with the movie. This is why I'd say it was like a 6.5 out of 10 in my opinion. Not the biggest reason why, there's other reasons, but that's part of it why I'd say it was like not as good as the second one or even the first one. Alright, so going into Lowkey's character, like I talked before, he's more of like the screw up and all that stuff. He has his own little arc. I was going to brush over most of this because I pretty much covered mostly what I wanted to cover, and then we'll probably go into other things towards the end. But Lowkey, he has a character arc where obviously he's useless, and there's like pretty deep scene where he almost like commits, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of crazy. And in the theater, I was like, whoa, like, what are you doing? Like, obviously, he feels bad after, like, disobeying his father because he was, like, speaking up for himself, speaking up for people. But he almost, like, commits, and I was like, damn, like, that's deep. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't, like, I wouldn't say necessary, but it's like he really felt that bad that he felt like he had to do something like that. But luckily, his friends come, they save him, and then they find the whale. It's not actually a whale, but the whale that he's closest to, that he thinks feels like his brother, and that's the whole little arc, is basically he convinces the whales to help him fight because they are pacifists and all this other stuff. So he does become useful in the end. Same with Kiri. One thing I was debating mentioning in the movie about Kiri was like how she is supposed to be like a teenager, I believe. There is reasons for why, like, she sounds old, but she sounds like a grandma, even though she's supposed to be like a teenager. And it's kind of like if you had like a grandpa voice, like a teenager in real life, like you could just hear it and you're just like, bro, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Not saying it's bad or anything. It's just like a little nitpick with her character. But she has a similar character arc where she's like not useful and she can't connect, but then she eventually is like the chosen one and she commands the sea life to help. Same with Lowkey's character and all that stuff. So they all have their little arcs going on. Quaritch, he is pretty important, but he has like a similar arc where he's really coming into accepting his, like, I wouldn't say fate, but now that he's actually Na'vi, he has a dead man's memories, and you know, he's not really like, I wouldn't say American, but human anymore. And the way everybody looks at him in the human world is like he's an alien. They don't treat him with respect, really. And that's when he somewhat accepts his, like, that he's Na'vi now, especially with Varang. And Varang is the main antagonist, and there's not much to say about her. I pretty much already touched on her earlier in the video on why she's important, how she's this and that, because we are pushing up on 20 minutes. But overall, I mean, I wouldn't watch it again. Honestly, it was just like far too long, and there's obviously a lot that goes into this movie with all the other characters, themes, and plots and whatnot. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint a theme. Like, I would have thought that it's like the basic movie theme, like, oh, family sticks together, we always get through this kind of stuff. And it was kind of like that, but to the point where they were so close to just like abandoning it. Because there was a scene in the movie where he's talking to the youngest daughter. I don't know her name. She's like not too important, but I was like, oh, what does Sully's always say? He's like, oh, Sully stick together, and he's like, no, the other thing, Sully's never quit. You know what I'm saying? So they're completely abandoning that, like, we always stick together and this is family and stuff for like basically we all have to be capable of ourselves. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint what the theme is, but I guess like that would come back and tie into it in a way, because the family never quit on each other, even though they came very, very close. And I guess that's what matters in the end. That's how they were able to defeat everybody because everybody turned out to be capable and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, we usually end on a theme, but that's like pretty much the best I could do on that one. I just really just want to talk about the movie and just generally like spark conversation. Um, but yeah, I mean, pretty much that would be it. Few announcements. We are able to stream on TikTok, and anybody should like check that out. That's in the description below, as well as the Twitch. We stream almost every day. And if that's something you guys are interested in, go ahead, please check that out. And don't forget to comment. I do respond to every single comment. And if you did enjoy this video, or you like any like low-key reviews that I make, which I generally just talk about it and try to like spark conversation about the movie rather than just like a full-on review. But yeah, if you guys like this content, please subscribe. This will be going up today. Today is New Year's Eve, so like Happy New Year's to y'all. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed and you guys have a good day. Thank you.